Hey everybody, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Vitality once again. So I have another interview ready to go here, so we'll go ahead and just jump straight into that. There's going to be plenty more going on. I've booked out interviews for like a month, so I'll be just keeping to put them out as I get them ready. So without further ado, here you go. All right, bye.
All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Stav. She's another one of the musicians that reached out about the current interview series. So I'm going to go ahead and give her a chance to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Stav G. And I'm a singer, songwriter, and a vocal coach.
Excellent. So go ahead and tell us about how you first found music. What was it about music that was really important to you?
I have been singing my whole life. My mother is a composer, so I grew up with her making music and involving me, teaching me and my brother. And I learned to play the piano at the 5th grade, but I was always singing, so it was always a part of me. And I think I discovered how important it was when I was about 14. I started losing my voice every 2 months. Later on, I found out that it's due to mono. And I couldn't, I got so depressed, so down that I can't sing, that I need to be on vocal rest every 2 months or so. And I realized how important it was.
Once you did kind of identify how important music was to you, how did you take the first steps to learning piano and writing lyrics and singing?
So I was in a pretty supportive environment because of my mom, due to my mom. So I wanted to play the cello and I wanted to play the French horn. And every few days I switched an instrument that seems very, very intriguing. And we had a piano at home. So she said, wait a minute, the piano is the basic. Let's learn the piano first, and then you can choose another instrument, but by then you'll have all the basics and music theory. So I did. I started to learn the piano, and singing, I started taking professional voice lessons later at about the age of 16. Mm-hmm. And I went to high school with a music major, and I played the bass guitar there. So I was encouraged to pursue it. And then I decided to go to college for music for at least 1 year. Mm-hmm. To see how it goes, to see if professional musicianship is something that I'm interested in. And after a year, I really liked it. So I stayed.
Sure. And when you were in college studying professional musicianship, what did you find that you latched on the most? Was it live performances or studio production, being a session musician sort of thing?
No, it was always about live performance. And music and vocal pedagogy, I also learned a little bit there. So everything that had to do about the voice and live performance and different genres, improvisation, always really, really intrigued me. That was the main focus. And then I took a few courses for songwriting to be a better singer, to understand songs' forms, and to get into the mind of the composers and poets. And I didn't think I'm a good songwriter. I didn't think that's something I wanted to pursue. But after college, I found myself writing more and more to express myself. So I kind of stuck to that as well.
Sure. And that kind of leads into what my next question would be. Once you did kind of get out of college, started kind of honing your musicianship, how did you identify the content of the type of music and lyrics that you wanted to create?
So at the time I got out of college, I searched what am I? Who am I? By then I saw myself as a jazz singer. I like to do artistic covers to popular songs, and I started composing in that manner, a little bit artistic, a lot of melodies, complicated harmonies. But parallel to that, I started studying a method for vocal technique in Denmark. It's called complete vocal technique, and that okay, yeah. So I started taking courses, seminars in complete vocal technique, which is a cutting-edge, research-based vocal technique that really opens your mind and your voice to all the possibilities a human voice has. And then it influenced my singing. It also influenced the way I started composing and writing songs differently. So I started experimenting more with like musical theater themes and with rock and roll, and I formed a rock band. So I stopped defining myself as this jazz singer. I now started defining my music and my singing as this multi-genre, influenced by jazz, influenced by rock, influenced by folk. And I think that what I do now, my music that I do now, is also kind of that. I really have a hard time defining it into a specific genre.
Sure. So you would essentially say the development of the type of music that you make wasn't something that you kind of initially latched onto. It's something that grew and developed.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
I always thought that I'm going to become like a jazz musician, and somehow it never happened.
Sure. So you mentioned that you have kind of moved into like more of a rock style influenced by jazz. How would you define like your ideal like band setup? Do you prefer like doing solo performances, or do you like having other musicians on stage with you? How does that manifest to you?
I always love working with other musicians and performing with other musicians, because that's the core of music, that conversation and the influence that we have on each other. But unfortunately, it's not possible for me. So I am performing solo. I am performing with my computer. I have a complete set built with my sound design, and it can accommodate a guest. But I wish I could return to having like a whole band. Yeah.
Sure. So prior to everything getting shut down, were you out there playing shows?
Yeah, with my sets. I used to run around the subway in all bureaus with a lot of gear.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how have you approached actually recording your music? Are you working independently by yourself, recording it onto essentially your own laptop? Or are you in a studio working with people?
Yeah, every song that I make is recorded with my producer back home, back in Tel Aviv, in his studio. Sometimes I go back to New York and then I record vocals here, but never on my own. I don't have the proper gear. I don't have the proper acoustic setting to really do it well.
Okay. And since you do seem to be kind of traveling back and forth overseas, when you have been touring, has it been here in the States or has it been overseas?
Overseas, I actually never toured outside of New York in the U.S. If anyone wants to invite me over, I'll be happy to join. But yeah, I have toured in Israel, which is funny because it's my homeland. But I packed a car with the gear and did a few shows in different parts of the country.
Sure. So, moving forward, where would you like to see yourself progress as a musician?
I want to keep exploring how technology and music can communicate our ideas better. Like right now, I am working with a touch technology interface that allows me to actually connect physically with someone else on stage and make music with them. And it allows me to even connect it to plants and make music with that. And I really want to keep exploring different gear and different options within music and technology that will not replace making music on my own, but will elevate it and contribute to the in-person experience we have on stage in real life.
Sure. So, do you think that moving forward, the way that live performances are done, there's going to be like more of a presence of technology on the live stage?
Oh, definitely. We see it now, even in like simple rock and sometimes even jazz bands. You'll have a keyboardist or a drummer or even an entire, like a completely specific person with a computer, with some electronica and sound design of their own. So instead of just limiting ourselves to this, I I see a future where you have different kinds of technology involved in live performances, and not just being, how do you say, confined to the synthesizer or confined to the computer software, but we'll have a lot more of touch and movement interfaces that also interact with music.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely seems like things are moving in that direction where technology is being brought onto the stage more and more.
Yeah.
So, what are some really prominent memories for you that kind of stick out about music, whether it be, playing a show or seeing a show or recording?
I have two very strong ones. One was my first jazz concert as a kid. I think I was like 6 or 7, and it was the Red Sea Jazz Festival. My parents took me to see Dee Dee Bridgewater, and I was so impressed that I couldn't stop scatting all the way home. Now, scatting is not a thing in Israel unless you listen to jazz all day. But I tried to mimic her, and till this day, I remember the line that I kind of came up with. So that was a really strong one. And another one was the first time I recorded in a professional studio. I was 12, and it was in my mother's album. She took me to sing one song, and it was one of the biggest, most known and old studios around. It was such an empowering moment, to know that I'm in this surrounding.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely cool. So what are some links where people can actually take a listen to the stuff that you're working on and listen to your music?
Well, I'm in all of the major streaming platforms, of course, YouTube, Spotify, Bandcamp even. And if you just search for Stav G Music, STAVG, and sometimes music, sometimes just Stav G, you'll find me.
So I always like to give the person that I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last words. So essentially just a message that you kind of feel resonates with you.
Well, I think it's always about authenticity. No matter what you do, you pour yourself into it, so you better be connected to it, or else people will smell the fake, and you will not be able to sustain it for much longer. So whatever you choose, whatever is your path, it's okay to explore, but stay connected to it, stay authentic.